Welcome, everybody. Here we are again with Recovery in the Morning, Yakima Valley Recoveries podcast. We have special guests here today, Mr. James Reno. How you doing, James?
Pretty well, thank you.
And we have Miss Sherry Nichols from Sanctuary First Foundation. She provides quality, luxury residential recovery housing
For
and
women.
for women only, and it's just a magnificent, gorgeous place for women to come. And we'll leave her information on the website and on the podcast.
Very cool. And the details.
So today's topic, we're going to talk about voice and choice
Yes.
and
some
how
more.
that plays out. The whole concept of voice and choice, and what happens when the rubber hits the road, when it actually matters to people. So can you tell us a little bit about what the voice and choice? Can you educate us a little bit on that topic?
Well, it's part of trauma informed care, and it's also part of healthcare authorities. We'll say process, their program, the way they expect things to be ran, especially in this arena, right? Anywhere within recovery, it's an expectation. If you look through the National Drug Court Association on their website, you'll find documents as to how case managers who handle drug court participants are supposed to behave, how they're supposed to care for their clients, and that is one of the biggest, it's like a tenet of operation. And it's listed as one of their responsibilities, a case manager's responsibility. That's something they're supposed to make sure that you are provided as your voice and choice. And it specifically speaks about in regards to where you decide to live, where you decide to go look for work, which agencies you're going to chat with, right, to go help you get a job, even which doctors you want to go to. Every single thing that's your life, right, and it's about you. You're supposed to be given the choice of where you want to do those things and which resources you want to utilize.
Well, thank you. And Reno, has a unique experience that he's here to share with us today, and he is an expert in that in his own life, in his own experience. And you've been in recovery since.
3/7/2024.
Good for you. Good for you. You're looking great. Can you tell us
Need to
about?
lose some weight, but
We all could.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't we all?
Why don't you tell us about your story and how voice and choice, or lack of, at times has affected you and your walk to access resources, to get recovery, to start a new life.
it was challenging in the beginning because I didn't really have a voice of choice. They were trying to take that from me.
So let's go back a little ways before that. How you got involved in drug court? Let's start from there. When you got involved in drug court, and maybe walk us forward from there, so we get to paint a picture of your situation, your personal experience. Remember, you're an expert on your experience, so educate us on your experience.
Well, I begged for drug court because I wanted to learn a new way of living. So I could have went back to prison. That would have been no deal, But just to get back out and do the same old thing again, And I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to live a life of freedom. I wanted to live a life with my kids and my family, and and so I begged for drug court. They gave me drug court. And it was a little challenging at first because of they were trying to tell me I couldn't live at your house.
What happened? But how did this come about? What happened?
I got accepted into Oxford in the beginning, and when I was in JOTC, and they overpacked their house, and so I was limited to going.
Who overpacked their house?
Oxford did.
Okay, so maybe walk us through that. What happened? You get up one day, you're getting out of treatment.
I have an expectation to go somewhere. Checked in with Merit, checked in with my CCO. Didn't have a ride to the Oxford housing per se. My mom had to give me a ride there, and it was just he made it there before me. And because they overpacked their house, there was no couch position. He took the couch position, and I.
So you guys were both competing for a position on the couch, not even a room.
Well, no, we were supposed to had our room secured.
Okay.
Wow.
But something happened with that house. Somebody.
Well, whatever happened.
Yeah, whatever happened. They overpacked. They overpacked their house because they were trying to get attendance in there. So I was just an hour too late.
Okay.
Wow.
That's when I met you.
Yeah, that's when my friend called you, your friend as well, and he said, bro, he feels hella bad, but he got me into your house, which
Right.
was a clean and sober living, Walker accredited, um, nice neighborhood.
DOC approved.
Yep, I stayed there for a week and then found out that I was not going to be funded.
So you stayed out for a week, and then what happened?
I went to him on my one of my one-on-ones with my counselor at the time, or my I think she was my case manager
For drug court or for?
for drug court,
And what happened
told
there?
her where I was at, and they said that they would not fund me at your house. I had to go look for housing somewhere else.
Did you explain that we were Walker accredited?
Oh yeah, I mean they knew that already too.
Okay.
Did they give you a reason why?
Um, the only thing that they told me, and it took me a long time to get there, was that it was just too expensive. And
It's always the first
and
response.
Yeah, so
first
I
excuse.
was asking, well, what do you mean too expensive? My recovery's too expensive for you? Like
Right.
when you guys get the government funding for this type
Right.
of thing to let me have a choice in where I was living, which at that time I didn't know I had a voice or a choice.
Right.
You know, I'm new to the recovery
You
thing.
didn't know your
and-
rights
and-
at
yeah,
all.
and so I thought that where I was at was a good, safe neighborhood, and I already got along with everybody at the house. Um, and now I'm assistant house manager there, you know.
Good.
And
So in that setting, they told you had to find somewhere else to live, or what did they tell you?
yeah, they said they would not fund me there, so I had to go somewhere else. And at the time, I needed funding.
Sure.
You know, it was a requirement to be in clean and sober living for drug court,
Right.
and so I was stuck between a rock and a hard spot.
So what happened when you went to court?
I went to court. The judge told me I had to find somewhere where they could fund. She didn't particularly say that. The judge didn't say anything about your house or being too. They said they needed to be able to find somewhere where they would fund. So they talked to the case manager again the same day at court, and she brought me outside with a man that you know, basically.
So you brought you outside with the guy. If I'm understanding, the guy was a house manager for a house
different
over
house.
a different house on Cherry that was also Walker accredited.
And I didn't know he was a board member for Merit at that time either.
Oh,
but,
wow.
he told me he had nothing to do with Merit.
Oh, he
So
wasn't
there,
honest.
so now we
So-
have self-dealing.
Yeah, he told me, no, I have nothing to do with Merit. I'm just here to support you guys. And then I find out he was a board member. So,
Oh, my God.
you know, he
There's
lied
the
to me
steering.
there.
Yep.
So what happened when he took you out to the hall? What was he just trying to talk about his wonderful housing, or?
Basically saying that I had to. No, he didn't. He badmouthed the house I was in now.
Slander.
He badmouthed you know, your name as well. Told me to lie to the house manager to get out of there. Just don't tell him anything. Tell him you don't know where you're going. And you just come to my house.
He told you to lie.
Yes, and so
Just
I
like,
did.
well,
I did not feel good about that because
Right.
I'm trying to run a real honest program
Well,
today.
that's
period.
part of it, right? All
And
this recovery. Yes.
What's
like-
what's mind-boggling is the case manager from drug court brings you to him, and he tells you to lie, and puts you in that position to lie to the people that were helping you.
Yes, sir.
And how did that make you feel?
Well, I didn't like it at all, but I felt like I had to do that. You know.
Sure.
So
They were the officials of drug court,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. I was forced to do that. So you
So-
know, I eventually ended up calling you.
Yeah.
When
So
I
what
was,
did you
when
do
I
though
was-
right then? What was the next step you?
I just started packing.
Okay.
I started packing at your house. They said that they might help me fund for your place for that week that I was there,
As long as you moved.
as long as I moved.
Wow.
And so I didn't know what else to do.
So it wasn't too expensive as long as you were willing to move.
I don't know. I don't know. Like
That's crazy, huh?
Right.
it's not
So
right.
then-
you
And
know?
as
then-
long as you're okay with this neighborhood over here,
Yeah, they were trying to put me into one of my old neighborhoods that my mom was even when she pulled up, she's like, "Nah, like this ain't gonna work for you." And I was like, "Mom, what else am I gonna do?"
yeah.
So they wanted you to go back to.
Neighborhood where I used to sell all
Use.
my dope in, use my dope, alcohol, anything. That neighborhood is when I first started using methamphetamines at 13 years of age.
In-
Oh
I
my
knew
goodness.
everybody, and I knew how to go get it if I wanted it. I got it for free. It's not where I wanted to be, but I thought I had to be there. You know.
So of course, the system was forcing you there. So then what happened? You get there, and what happened?
I went in, got the door code, and I met that man that told me to lie. He kept telling me chop 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 chop. You know, he was rushing me out of your house, and I said I was supposed to move in but I said no, I'm gonna stay the weekend at where I'm at, and then I'll move on Monday. And so he was fine with that. If you know, he had to be fine with that because I told him I wasn't gonna move out. I'm not gonna move out like that. You know, so
Still trying to think, right?
yeah, I was exactly. I didn't know. I didn't know what to think. You know, I thought that if I didn't do this, that would terminate me.
He's
And
like
then
a used car
what would
salesman, that guy.
And what would happen if they terminate you?
Go back to jail, go to prison.
Wow.
Yeah, because was already involved enough to where they said that if I didn't complete this program, that I get my maximum sentence, and
Which was how much?
I believe it's 5 to 10.
So move out of
Juan,
there, or you
this
can
is
spend
like
5 to 10.
entrapment.
So move
is
into
crazy.
this trap house neighborhood, or do 5 to 10 years in prison. I'm sorry that happened to you. So what happened? You got your stuff there. What'd you do? I can't imagine being in that position.
I went in, I met the couple people that were staying in that house, and I dropped my backpack off. It had all my medications in it and stuff, and I said, well, I'll be right back. I had to go take my daughter somewhere, you know, and so I went back. I had all the stuff in the car, and that's when I called you.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Because Fernando told me, you need to call Juan. You need to call Juan. And I was like, okay. And so I was telling you, I didn't know how to tell you that I was moving out of your house, to be honest with you, because I was in a good spot. I knew where I was at, and you accepted me. Everybody accepted me. And so I told you, you know, like, this is what's going on. You know, they're making me move out of your house. And that's when you told me to get your stuff back up to the house, and we'll ride this out, you know.
I remember the fear in your voice, and the sadness and everything that all that was going on. And I remember thinking, if they don't fund you, that's not them. You being able to pay your rent, it should not be the number one thing on the table. The main thing that should be happening is you need to be safe.
Recovery.
Yes.
Focus on
In
my
a safe,
recovery.
and that's what I
Yep.
kept telling you. You focus on your recovery. The system shouldn't be doing this to you, but come on back. You're safe, and don't worry about rent.
And that's a lot of additional pressure that somebody fresh out of rehab does
Doesn't
not need.
No.
Yeah, it was.
And for him to his behavior, come on, let's go, snap, snap, snap. That's
Somebody-
crazy.
Was it you that told me that there was still the yellow tape on the back fence?
No.
Or somebody else said they moved in, they still had the yellow tape on the back fence from the last person who had died there.
He died there after that.
Okay. After that, he died.
Yeah, that was before I moved in.
Oh, okay, okay.
So,
Dang.
or before I was supposed to move in there, you know.
So then you came back to our house, and you've been there for how long?
It's been close to a year.
Close to a year, and now you're assistant house manager of the house.
Yes, sir.
And you were there for how long without paying rent?
It was like 8 months. 8 months.
months.
Where you just kept telling me, even if I don't get paid for this, you took a chance on me, you know.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that a lot. And I just had to stay persistent in my recovery with my sponsor, going to my meetings.
I remember you coming to me, almost moving out later and saying, man, I don't want to owe money. And I said,
It's-
don't worry about the money, bro.
Yeah,
Don't worry
'cause-
about the money. Worry about your recovery. Worry about your
Yeah.
family and everything. If you do the right thing for the right reasons, everything's going to work out in the end. And thank God it has. Later, we found funding for you, and we waived some off, I believe. And it's not about the money. It's about saving lives.
That's why we did this, right? That's exactly why we're in this.
And-
is
and-
to help people.
And so, from what you've heard, what do you gather from this? How does this?
It's just heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking because this is the opposite of what the system should be doing. You know what I mean? We really need people in this realm to give a crap.
It's interesting when you hear a treatment center employees say it's too expensive to.
Because it's gotten to the point
That's just their rap.
It's literally just this revolving door. And that's why those trap neighborhoods are such a big thing, right? Because you're creating a revolving door.
And they
So
keep
you're
charging.
guaranteeing that whatever agency it is, that third party agency that's getting all that funding from the drug court to handle everybody that comes through the drug court, they're guaranteeing that they have a revolving door, that they will always be in business.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the saddest part. Is it's like, for me, as a recovery home operator, I cannot wait for the day that I don't have to be there. I don't have to do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? I really do pray for that. That there's going to be a day where this isn't a thing anymore. We don't even need this anymore.
Right.
that the system, but right now I feel like, and that's why I'm here, because I feel like right now things are so bad that we need more speech. We need more advocacy. We need more people who are not in recovery. Like I've never been in recovery. I've never done a drug in my life. I've never been drunk. Okay? So, and yet I have a cousin right now who's in the hospital, and I have a feeling she's going to be nonverbal for the rest of her life. She just relapsed, overdosed, and died a month and a half ago. And she was in a coma for a month. She just now started waking up, but she's still not speaking. You know what I'm saying? It's like every single person we know is touched by this. But we cannot allow it to just become a money racket.
Yes.
We can't.
People's lives are at stake. Man.
That's exactly it. And futures. And think about that. Just your kids.
What would have
Right.
happened? What would have happened to you if you'd have went into that neighborhood and relapsed, like so many have done in that neighborhood? What would life look like to you compared to what it is now?
I don't want to even want to look at that
Yeah.
because
It's terrible, huh? The
yeah,
idea.
Yeah, I would probably be sitting here right now.
Well, thank God that you stayed strong.
Yeah.
Thank God that you were able to. It's hard for men, women too, but it's hard for men to say, because you came to me like a man and said, I don't want to owe money. I like to pay my way in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
A system that you didn't do anything. This is through no fault of your own.
It's a broken system.
This is what happens when the system fails.
Mm-hmm.
So people like us need to step up and say, well, you'll be okay.
Yes.
Stay with us. We'll figure this out. And it seems like an ongoing rap in the recovery world where they say, oh, that's too expensive. But they don't know what the fair market value is according to HUD.
Well, that's the other thing too, right? So like we've looked at that obviously.
Sure.
And, I didn't buy my house until last year. So I don't know if anyone knows what interest rates were last year. Holy cow. The interest rate on the house that we purchased, 8.5%.
That's a lot.
That is insanely high.
Yes.
So yeah, just the mortgage alone is huge, right? So the mortgage, the insurance, and you have to have additional insurance. You can't just have your typical homeowner's policy, right? You've got to have liability. You have to have all these extra layers of insurance. And even when you do that, you still have restrictions as far as the people you can take into the house, and that sucks too, but it's just part of it, right? And then the utilities, think about that, right? Because you got 9, 10, 12 people in one house. Those utilities climb really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So reality is we're just trying to cover expenses, and make sure for us specifically, and that's the coolest part, is that I didn't know Juan before I started all this. But when I met him, I knew immediately he's on the same page as me. We got into this intentionally to help as many people as we could, and truly help, meaning we didn't locate a single house in a trap neighborhood, and honestly, in anything that would even be close to it.
Right.
These are beautiful homes in awesome neighborhoods, family-centered neighborhoods.
And the thing is, 10 years ago, maybe for $450 a month, $550 a month,
You could have done it back
you could
then.
put somebody in a working class neighborhood that was okay.
The prices were much better.
Different, right? Well,
Yes.
inflation, everything goes up, right? So now those same neighborhoods that were maybe okay 15 years ago are some of those neighborhoods have become overrun by gang activity, active gang members, by drug trafficking, by prostitution, by the people that are suffering from substance abuse disorders, using drugs in the alleys and the streets. And so when you try and put a recovery house back in the same neighborhood, and some folks maybe that run treatment centers are so disconnected from the ground level, what's really happening out
They're
here.
just going to work, doing
So
their
they
9
say,
to
well,
5.
10 years ago, for that same neighborhood, we only paid $450. Yes. But 10 years ago, your salary was only $79,000. Your salary is now $155,000. So how is it that your salary can jump from $79,000 to $155,000, but you want to regulate people that are the most vulnerable in this whole equation, the new people coming into recovery, into poor neighborhoods, and say what was good for them 10 years ago is good for them today. First of all, that doesn't make any economic sense. Secondly, the drugs are different today than they were now,
Much.
and they've affected families and neighborhoods different than even than the crack cocaine did in the crack days. Okay, this fentanyl is a whole different ball game.
The whole thing is different now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just it's crazy. I was speaking to a woman about a month ago in like a training session, and she was telling me she was actually over here from Montana because she's from I can't even talk. She's native, so she was from a tribe back in Montana, and on the reservation, she said 5 visits to a counselor for her to even get sent to rehab because the people in that system over there, the gentleman who was helping her, he didn't know how to type. You know what I'm saying? So it took a lot. And that was the one thing she had told me about was she said, you don't understand. She said, on the reservation, she said, these drugs are so bad that the grandmothers are the ones selling it to their children, their grandchildren, their nieces, their nephews, their brothers, their sisters. She said, it's that bad. It has changed everything.
It's terrible.
It is.
One of the things that that we really need to recognize is the fact that it's your courage to come forward today and tell your story.
No joke.
To tell your story, and also give thanks to God for the success that you're having.
Amen.
That you are now active in 12-step recovery programs. I'll say that plurally. That you are a leader in the recovery community because you are second, your assistant manager for one of the biggest recovery houses and nicest recovery houses in the Yakima County. You've spent a lot of your time helping the new guys. And it's really hard to tell people, believe in the system when you know the system's stabbing you in the back. You know, hey, get into drug court. You won't go to, but yeah, they're not going to help you. But get in anyway, and we'll try to find you some alternative help. And it's hard when I hear people say, I'm in drug court. I qualified for help. They're helping the other guys that are in recovery housing that's Walker accredited. I'm in Walker accredited house, and I'm not getting help.
It's sad. You know, at this point, like I already know that if I meet a young woman and she calls me and she's in drug court, I know that they won't allow her to come to my house.
Right.
And to have to tell her that,
And the sad thing
that breaks my heart because I know, and this isn't about conceit. I can tell you right now, I am one of the very best options in this place right now, in this town right now, for any woman that's fresh out of recovery.
and they blackballed you too.
They haven't sent me a single person
Yeah. Been how long?
since September
Yes.
last year.
The thing is, I think
No, this year. Sorry. No, it is last year.
Yeah.
so
Duh.
what would you call that when a case manager is taking
Steering.
steering?
It
right?
is
It's
steering, and it's illegal.